Hello, everybody. Hope you're well on this Friday afternoon. My name's James. I am one half of the Planet FPL podcast. You are listening to my regular Friday afternoon live stream on YouTube, where I invite listeners into the chat, unscripted, unplanned, and I will answer any questions that come in on football. Hope everybody's well in the UK. It's a bank holiday weekend, plenty coming up. Not to say for the least, a 24-hour stream tomorrow, which, just while I'm waiting for people to come into the chat, and perhaps for the benefit of audio listeners who may not have heard the full schedule, I obviously just want to go through that very quickly, just to let you know what we've got planned tomorrow. The first thing to say is, Suj and I have found out this morning we can't stream live for 24 hours. Doesn't matter, we're still going to, but we're going to split it into 4 6-hour streams from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m., 12 p.m. to 6 p.m., 6 p.m. till midnight, midnight till 6 a.m. So we're literally going to be on and off for about 2 minutes, and then a new stream will go up. Basically, I think if you go longer than 8 hours on YouTube, then the video just gets hidden. So full disclosure of content coming up tomorrow. So first thing, we'll obviously be doing an intro. Why are we doing it? We're raising money for NHS charities together. We're going to go through our schedule again for the day for everybody who's jumping in new for the first time. 6:30, we're going to invite some questions and reflection to obviously our launch of Patreon, which you can go and have a listen to from Tuesday's People's Poll podcast. Feedback for me personally has been incredible. A little bit overwhelmed with the positivity. You expect loads of negative comments following these things, and I've actually had only one. I'm sure there's more to come when football restarts, but we think we've put together something great, which still allows loads of free content and essentially double the content for patrons, where we're going to be going to 10 podcasts a week. Our first guest of the day is Stefan White, Stefan RW from Beer Nuts UK. He's been helping many in the community with beer care packages. He's going to be coming at 7 o'clock in the morning. Some giveaways that will be happening following on from that show with Steph. 7:30, we're going to have a look at the morning news, the morning football news, because we haven't got anything sort of planned, kind of People's Poll focused or specific topic in that way that just me and Suj are doing. We're going to have a look at the morning headlines. 8 o'clock, Tom Campbell, Utley TC is coming on. He's going to do a Premier League quiz with us. At 9 o'clock, we've got FPL Coach. He's coming on. We're going to talk a little bit about FPL with John. We're going to talk about Coventry City, who look like they're about to get automatic promotion by default as champions of League One. Have they earned it or not? And obviously, they're homeless at the moment, having been played at Birmingham City all of this season. At 9:30, we're going to play football headbands, brighten the mood a bit. It'll probably be the first real giggle bits of the day, although Suj doing a football quiz is always worth a giggle. 10 o'clock, FPL Gaffer. We're going to be talking about the future of esports, and obviously particularly surrounding from a football perspective, what FIFA's like. I used to play regularly, and I just don't have the time to anymore. At Parker_Bradley's on at 10:30. We're going to be talking about life without football. Bradley's really missing his football, and I think even me and Suj have been quite like, don't really miss it at the moment. It doesn't feel right to miss it. Bradley really is in the zone of completely missing it. So we're going to talk about life without football a little bit. 3-5 Who's on at 11 o'clock. We're going to be talking about all the London clubs. He's obviously a Gooner. I'm Spurs. Suj is West Ham. At 12 o'clock, we've got some mystery content creators takeover. Basically, we've got a phone-in session. We've got 8, I would say, major FPL content creators coming on between 12 and 1 o'clock. They're going to jump on for 7 minutes or so, say hello, let you know what's happening with them and their content and that at the moment. They're obviously helping support what we do. At 1 o'clock, we got Steve-O from Elite FPLs coming on. We're going to talk about the growth of the Elite FPL channel. I'm really impressed with the YouTube stuff that they've done this year. At 1:30, we're going to do a phone-in where anybody can come in via Zoom. That is open to absolutely everybody. And it'll just be up to Suj who he accepts in terms of who gets on or who doesn't get on. Then we'll probably cut off, obviously, at 1 to 2. Then we'll restart that at 2 o'clock. At 2:30 p.m., I'll be doing Champman FPL Game Week 16. Straight after that, I've got my graphics hero from those streams, FPL Captain, coming on at 5 o'clock. 5:30, we've got FPL 2 Guys 1 Cup. Our friend Shams coming on. He will admittedly say himself, he's someone who's really suffered with gambling issues. And he's going to come on and share his experiences, and hopefully it will help. I think it can relate to FPL. Obviously, certainly relates to sports betting. We think that Sham's got some opinions that can really help with that. 6 o'clock, another phone in. 7 o'clock, we go hashtag NimFan. Our friend FPL Nim3 is coming on with us for half hour or so. We talked about the growth of her YouTube channel, her experience now, obviously, with the Wildcats. They're continuing to pump out content regularly. Friend of mine, Emma's story is coming on at 7:30. She's actually a Spurs fan who's living in Germany at the moment. We're going to talk about the Bundesliga, how the restart's going over there. And we're going to talk about her experiences as a woman who regularly goes to football, both obviously in Germany and in England. At 8 o'clock, we got Dave, Simple Goal FPL, part of the Champ Man team coming up. We'll do a wrap-up of the game week, get reactions. At 8:30, James Alaphana's coming on, and part of James coming on is he's going to have an exclusive to give to us in terms of the updated leaderboard. At 9 o'clock, we're welcoming friend of the show, Amber Redmond, to send in questions to us. She's going to send them in to us at 1 minute to 9. She sends in the best questions for the podcast, and she's going to absolutely stitch me and Suj up. I know that. 9:30, we have FPL Badger on. We're going to be talking about best away days. 10 o'clock, I've got FPL Loco Lord on. We're going to be talking about the later news headlines, if anything breaks during the day. And obviously, he's a Liverpool fan, so we'll be talking about the Red season. 10:30, I've got Is My Cat Playing coming on. We're going to be doing a list of our top 10 ever FA Cup goals, going head-to-head with whatever match of the day provide, which is going to be FA Cup themed. By 11 o'clock, me and Suj are going to be pissed, and we're going to try and play Pictionary. I can't draw, and I have trouble with words. You know that. So drawing, I'm in big trouble, and I suspect Suj's drawing will be equally poor. So we're going to do that at 11. At midnight, and he's in the chat, Andy at Let's Talk FPL is coming on for a bit of Let's Talk Planet FPL. Andy's playing poker at 8 o'clock, so I think he's coming on pissed as well. We'll have some bands. We're going to talk about England a little bit as well. Tom Candle from Who Got the Assist is coming on at 1 o'clock for Who Got the Planet. More bants with Tom. We'll catch up on what him, Nick, and Stag have been up to on their channel. We'll talk about the Sun Until I Die series that obviously they're going through. 2 o'clock, me and Such are really struggling by now. We're going to play Articulate. We've got our Newcastle correspondent, FPL Fitballer, on at 3 o'clock. We'll talk about the Newcastle takeover. 3:30, FPL Blades on. We'll talk about them Blades. We'll talk about his hilarious Champ Man FPL bench boost that actually worked out to be a minus. At 4 o'clock, me and Suj are going to put each other on the spot with a series of Would You Rather. It could be tears by this point. At 4:30, we've got Alex Waterbaby coming on all the way from New Zealand to tell us what it's like to follow the Premier League from the other side of the world. And we will finish at 5 o'clock with a further phone in for 45 minutes or so. Invite calls, obviously, from America, Asia, Australia, anybody else on the other side of the world, or any early morning risers or those who are still up pissed are more than welcome to join us. And obviously, we'll close down with a bit of thanks, and then we'll piss off and go to bed. Obviously, not together. That is what we're doing on the live stream. So let's get into chat. I see we got Vinyl Richie in. Afternoon, James. Hard to imagine you have a life outside YouTube dedication. This week has become mental. I'm not going to lie. As much from the planning perspective, as much as anything, it's just become so full on. Because you know me and Suj, we just don't want to put content out there that's going to be like half baked and not up to scratch. You know, I think with certain people like Andy coming on at midnight, we can take a chat because we've done a bit of stuff together a couple of times now and know that we don't have to be too planned, and it's midnight anyway. The later ones in the day, the later we get in the day, the less planning they've got. But I don't want people to come on at 9 o'clock in the morning and be bored or something. So we do want some specific topics that people will tune into for that. I think someone like Andy, I mean, he sells himself, doesn't he? He's a YouTube king himself. He's in the chat. He says, good afternoon. How are you, pal? Angus McPhail's also in, saying afternoon. Ollie Blake's giving me a bit of a clapped hands. It's appreciated, mate. Jeff Holt's in, say, hey, James, wishing you good luck tomorrow. Thank you very much, Jeff. Try and get on one of them call-ins, Jeff. We'll see if we can get Suj to get you on, mate. Pierlo's pen is in, says, hello, James. Changed my YouTube now from Alex. Captain this week in Champ Man. I have to go Robbie Fowler. So, yeah, I had the breaking news come through to me at 10 to 10 last night, which I shared on my stream about Hippier and Gerrard being rested for Liverpool this game week. and they're also in my squad. So I was going Fowler anyway. I'm not comfortable with it. No thoughts to use triple captain in spite of the fact they've got Derby and Fulham at home. I don't even trust him to play 2 games. But even if he plays the 1 game, it's a decent captaincy shout against Derby and Fulham at home. And they both concede goals for fun. So, yeah, every chance Fowler would still return in just 1. Van Nistelrooy's got Chelsea at home. Obviously, they're shocking at the moment. But if Fowler plays 2, I've got to go with the Chancellor. That's going. It would be monster captain Robbie Fowler, and most people are not going to like it. I think a few were looking at like Hippier as alternative, and obviously he's not going to start now. Seeing people thinking about, because he's not playing the first game, and -4s to Sammy Hippier, Stefan Henshaw or Vegard Hegem. Seems a bit extreme to me, because I think you got to remember you still got one other very good looking home fixture from that double game week where if you got the 1 clean sheet from the 2 games before it started, you'd take that. So I don't quite see that move personally. I'm going to go Fowler. I think Fowler's captaincy will be huge. I think people are going to be walking out of the double game week that's gone and firing into, I guess it's Fowler, Heskey, Henshaw, Hegem. I don't know where else people would go now. Jerzy Dudek. If some people have had Carlo Guccini or something. Yeah, I'm going to go Fowler. I'm probably going to roll a transfer. As it stands now, all 11 of my players are playing at home. This was part of the plan in terms of when I wildcarded in game week 13. So I'm going to be Crossley in goal, Hariderson, Silvestre. Hippier's not playing, is he? So I'm going to end up with a sub there. So that's a lie. So I'll probably go Alan Stubbs away to Ipswich, actually. I'll probably take a chance on that, thinking that Sunderland will likely score more against Alan Stubbs, Richard Rufus Charlton than Ipswich will score against Everton's Alan Stubbs. I might take that chance. That might seem weird, but that might be the way I go, actually. If Everton go to the back 5 and if Ipswich play with split forwards, I think they might struggle to score, actually. So I'll probably go Alan Stubbs would be my 1 player away from home in that case. Midfield 3. I'll still go with Hippier, wouldn't I? I'm talking out of my arse. I'll still go Hippier because he's got the 2nd game. Stubbs can be first sub. Midfield 3, I go Gerrard, Poyet, Johnston. I've got 1 more in midfield, don't I? Shit. Put myself under pressure now. I can't remember. Phillips, Fowler, captain, Van Nistelrooy up front. Who's my other midfielder? Jason Kumas. I'll give him 1 last chance, I think, home to Everton. I'll give him 1 last chance. So if I go that way, yeah, I'm not getting the doubles out of Hippier and Gerrard now. But I'd take blanks for them now if Captain Fowler give me a really good return over 2 games. So, yeah, I'm starting with 11. It's probably only be 1 double game week player, but I'm starting with 11 at home. So, quite well shaped for this week. The free hit was really disappointing. Got 76 points, but did jump about 30 places up to 102nd overall. I think in a good position. There's lots of people coming out. I've been so focused on game week 15. They're going to look at what they've gone now and gone, I'm in trouble. So I think I was well set. And then I got 2 free transfers. And then it becomes very easy for me to go, if I want to go like Fowler to Boxic and then get the 3rd Man United player. So I've already got 2 Middlesbrough and 2 United ahead of that game week 17 double for both of those sides. Although I might not go for the 3rd Middlesbrough player. I need to give it some thought. That's probably where I'm at. All right, who else have we got in this chat today? We've got Jeff Holt. He's already been in at FPL. Andy's in. Afternoon, James. Good luck for tomorrow. Much appreciated, Andy. For those joining late at the start of this chat, if you want to go back to it at the end, I've gone through the whole schedule for tomorrow. I'll obviously be posting out on Twitter as well. As I said, we're raising money with a 24-hour stream, which we're now going to have to split into 4 6-hour parts, but it will basically be continuous. My pin tweet at the moment has a link to the available charity that we're raising money for, NHS charities together. Please donate what you can. Me and Sudja are attempting to raise £5,000, which is pretty mental and ambitious, but we believe that this community can come together and help make that happen. You can donate now. Quite simply, just go to my pin tweet at Planet FPL Pod on Twitter, and you can donate as little or as much as you like. We've got giveaways happening on the day. So Suj said during the quiz the other night, he's got some Jamie Vardy clapper that he's happy to auction up. We've got a Raheem Sterling signed Manchester City shirt that we're going to be auctioning as well. There will be a minimum price on that. I'm not sure what it is, but we'll get that confirmed on our channels today. And we've also got a format if people are interested. If they can't make it onto any of the call-in times, we're thinking of doing some surprise physical phone outs, perhaps with one or two of our guests as well. That's been tweeted out by Suj, and I'm going to tweet it again after the show as well. So if you want to fill that in, and we'll actually potentially give you a phone call during the stream, you can put on there like, don't call me at these times and that kind of stuff. But might be like, oh yeah, we've got 5 minutes, let's give someone a call. Tom Campbell in the chat says, afternoon guys, James footy question. What do you reckon was the main reason for just how abject England were at the 2010 World Cup? Or Capello or something else? Jabulani ball, Tom. I've said this before in this stream. I really didn't enjoy that tournament. I watched every single game thinking I couldn't get it out of my head that we're playing with a beach ball. I think England really struggled with the conditions. I think the one thing on reflection that England side really didn't have, Tom, was it didn't have any athleticism. Didn't have any. If you think about, what was it, like Terry and Upson at centre half after, I mean, Ledley went, didn't he? And Capello called him up, and Capello didn't even realise he couldn't train. But Ledley was so good, he wanted to give him the chance. Ledley broke down the first game. Jamie Carragher also broke down the first game. So we're left with Matt Upson and John Terry. I mean, you know, that in their peak, very good centre halves, but turning was starting to become a problem by this point. Yeah, Gareth Barry in midfield. See the way Ozil completely outstripped him in that last 16 encounter. And then just wasn't really the pace up front and that. So we looked a bit better against Slovenia when Defoe played, but actually the quality of that squad, Tom, had dropped off quite alarmingly from the 2006 side, I think, with Gerrard and Lampard also were coming towards later years here. So lack of athleticism. And it's always one problem that people will continue to forget about England is how difficult they will find it in hot conditions. And that's going to be ongoing for some. And that's generally why I think come Qatar, we might have half a shot, because the temperature is still going to be very warm, but it's probably going to be early 20s. It's probably going to be a little bit more to England's liking than playing out in South Africa in 25 plus, for example, when it starts really. We played Germany and the game started in the afternoon. I think it was night time by the end, but fitness wise, they just didn't have it. And there was also around that period, and it was the same in 2006, Tom, all the off the field stuff with the wags and that just felt like baggage, didn't it? Sujan Shah is in the trap. Hello, mate. He's come to see me. He says fresh up. He means fresh cut. What Suj doesn't know is I actually got my hair cut 4 days ago, and I've just been wearing my cap every day. And I decided today that I wasn't going to put the cap on. The cap had become a bit of a live stream thing, and I just decided not to put it on today. Or I could just say that I forgot, and now I'm stuck. FPL Badger, who's coming on 9:30 during the 24-hour stream, says, what time are you going to bed tonight? What's the tactics? So obviously did Champman stream last night following doing it Wednesday night. Yeah, I know, that sort of week. And I stayed up for a little bit. I didn't go to bed. I intentionally slept on the sofa. I went to sleep about 1 o'clock, and I set an alarm to get up at 6 o'clock this morning. That's what I did. I figured it was better to actually have a little less sleep today and a little more tonight. I don't know if that's going to work. It probably depends what the temperature is a little bit. The intention is to try and get me down at 10:30 tonight. I'm someone who 5.5 hours, 6 hours sleep is optimum perfect for me. I know that's not for everyone. A lot of people need 8 and whatnot. If I have more than 8, I'm in trouble. So if I went to bed at 7 o'clock tonight and then woke up at 4, I'm in trouble. So plan is 10:30, get up probably about 4:15, have a shower, get in a cab, get to studio, make sure we're all okay and ready and planned and set up okay, which I very much feel like we are actually. And then at 6 o'clock, we hit record and we go. Put the kettle on. Have we got a toaster, Suj? If we haven't, bring your toaster, mate. Badger also thinks my haircut's fresh. It was fresher 4 days ago, I can assure you. Angus McPhail says, teams to target for the next 3-4 game weeks. Angus, I can't assume, mate. We talking Bundesliga fantasy, Faroe Islands fantasy. I know you mean champ, man. Liverpool now, Spurs now, be the first two. Obviously, United, Middlesbrough game week 17. I really don't think you'd be looking further than those 4 teams at the moment. Sunderland is still okay with a few home fixtures and that. Villa have a decent little run now of home games. But no, I don't think you'd look beyond those 4 that I mentioned. Liverpool been a massive letdown, massive letdown. I feel at some stage that's got to turn. And if they win these 2 fixtures, which they should do, Derby and Fulham can't stop conceding goals, then they'll shoot right up that table and they'll be up to about 6th or so. FPL Lucky, FP Lucka. Hello, mate. Best of luck tomorrow. Thank you. As much as it hurt me, I was delighted to see you get that last-minute Derby win on the stream on Wednesday. Great moment for you and fully deserved for all you do. Thank you. So for those who have no interest in it, but want to know what he's talking about, if you go to Wednesday's part 1, double game week 15 stream, and go to 2 hours and 11 minutes into the stream, you will see me lose my shit a little bit when Teddy Sheringham scores an injury time winner at Arsenal. And I tell you what was nice about it, and I said this to a few people in the chat privately, it was the first time since football stopped that I could visualise being at football. And even though I've celebrated goals on the clock in when I was a kid and stuff, I think particularly a goal Darren Anderson scored at the other end at the North Bank to put us 1-0 up one year. I remember a John Lukic own goal. Andy Sinton hit the post and it came back and went off Lukic. We ended up losing that game 3-1. I remember going absolutely mental when that went in. I did. We got nothing out of it. But I could visualise in that moment being on the clock end as a Spurs fan against the enemy, even though obviously Arsenal left Highbury on the clock end 14 years ago or whenever. I could visualise being in that moment. And for a split second, I lost myself in remembering what I love about football. And it's that losing yourself in that moment. And then when I finished the stream, I thought about it more and I remembered that you can't do that anymore because we've got VAR. And that's the only positive of this terrible crisis we're in at the moment, is that no one's talking about VAR. He has a question as well, FP Lucky, FPL Lucky. He says, my question, how do you feel about the official FPL response and communication throughout this virus? Or are you happy with guessing which players the symbols mean? What symbols? I don't know what that means. I've not got a clue. No idea. When I've remembered to make a transfer, I've gone in and made one. I had a look at it last week and I thought, there's nothing really I can do to improve this. I'm gonna leave it be. So that's what I did. I think there's a good chance everyone will get a wild card anyway. They said keep your chips, which is fairly standard. I felt not to use them. Although I know I saw FPL Chance tweeted out that like there were a few hundred people who played their wild card in game week 38. For what? Just to press the button because you didn't want to lose it, or like what? It said don't lose it. So if they restart under the same format now, you've got no wild card with no real knowledge of the fixtures. I suspect, as I've said previously, I think Villa, Sheffield United, Man City, Arsenal, the extra games will go first, and I think there's every chance we'll have a double. We'll walk straight back into a double game week, and then it'll be single fixtures. But I also don't really care at the moment. I've got no. And we will do when it restarts because we've got to be passionate about it for you guys. But personally, in terms of my team and stuff, I've got absolutely no passion to be playing FPL anymore this season at all. But I will, and I'll have some passion for it when next season restarts. It's possibly quite largely influenced by the fact my rank is shocking at the moment at 850k or whatever it is. Now, don't ever triple captain someone that ends in A-N-E was the lesson that we all learnt this season. I'll obviously stick it on Kane again next year. I stuck it on Mane this year. But no passion for it. So, I mean, in terms of their communication, I sent a tweet out, not this Monday, but last Monday, saying I'd really like an interview with your 2 people who've got to the FPL Cup final to learn how they won their virtual coin tosses. P.S. Let your community know what you're doing this week. And I have some sympathy with them from the perspective of they've obviously been waiting for information. I also think it became very, very clear a number of weeks ago that obviously no football was going to be played before last weekend, which would have been the last day of the season. And they should have said, don't play your chips. Don't bother doing nothing. we'll let you know what's happening when we know. And that's it. You don't have to say anything more than that. But the whole lack of, and then every day putting out, oh, guess who this is with clean sheet in game week 29 and 32. I mean, amazing. If you want a quiz, listen to us on a Wednesday. Ollie Blake says, any preference for Stolzers or Collins? Might even captain one for a bit of fun. Yeah, back to your virtual coin toss there, Ollie. That's a tough one. I'd have a personal preference for Collins, probably. But that really is a toss of a coin. Absolute toss of coin. Fulham's other fixture, Leicester at home, is it? The other fixture? I don't mind it. I mean, I could go Kumas to Malbronk, and I've potentially got an extra fixture, for example. That's the only one I think I might consider making. I'm more looking at moves beyond this game week, I think, is my thought process. Danny McDonald says, looking back on the 2010 and other tournaments, makes you appreciate the current quality of our team, as in the England team. Yeah, till this current team does nothing in a major tournament. And there's every possibility that next summer we'll get Portugal, France or Germany in the last 16 after struggling through a group, and everyone will hate the team again. And it just takes that one bad performance in a major tournament and the whole nation's like offside again in terms of their feeling towards the country. The country as a football team's got a real good feeling about it. What Southgate's done really well, as much as what he's done with the team in terms of, to be honest, he's got a bit of tactical nous. He's simplified things. What I love about him, which he keeps repeating, is he's not frightened of mistakes. The biggest thing I think he's done for England, and me and Suj spoke about this in one of our 1330 podcasts last June after we lost to Holland in the Nations League. And we spoke about the bravery of England players. And rather than having watched us for the last 20, 30 years, watching us under pressure lump the thing up to a little Michael Owen or something and just constantly cede possession, is the belief that it's okay to make mistakes and being brave on the place for it. If you're 1-0 up with a minute to go, into the channels is fine. But generally, try and play football wherever possible. Try and play football. Isn't that, if we're going to go down and get beat by somebody size we know that are better than us, and you can say it's naive, but we've got good counter-attacking players. When I say play up from the back, it doesn't mean you don't necessarily have to play with a high line to play that way. You don't necessarily have to play deep. I think it should certainly start that way from a goalkeeper wherever possible in international football, if that's possible, unless the opposition has a high press. And in which case, one of Pickford's great strengths is obviously his distribution. Look into the wide areas, use the fullbacks who are decent in the air and the likes, or trust to play into someone like Jordan Henderson, who has obviously improved massively. So that's how I want to see England play, is playing the ball out from the back. And I think the players are beginning to play for England without fear. That's the really big thing. And I think they've also got this thing now where it's not so much of a chore to go and play. I feel like going back to, was it Bulgaria in a qualifier? Sorry, we play so many shit teams, lose track these days. I think Kane scored a cut the penalty second half, didn't he? Got a hat-trick. But I think it was 3-0 at half-time, and we didn't score for a while, and then we scored a fourth. And suddenly it was like a switch went off again. It was like, we're going to batter you. And I loved that. Like, the England qualifiers last year were really enjoyable to watch, other than the defeat in Czech Republic in Prague. They had a bad night. But it actually become enjoyable to watch again. I don't think England fans walk around with that belief of we have to win something. There are teams, France are well better than us, etc. Holland, Spain, Germany, Belgium, they're probably all better than us, Portugal. But, let's go and give them a football match. Let's try it. Let's stop fearing. Play with fear and get beat anyway. And having a go means you can sit off teams and counter-attack, etc. But I just want to see us do it the right way. And I think Southgate's actually improved us further off the back of that World Cup. Don't think England could win the Euros next summer, personally. I think the way the draw is going to work out, it's actually going to be very tough in spite of potentially having, should we go all the way 5 out of 7 games at Wembley, I don't think England would get as far as the semi-finals. But I tell you what, should we get to the semi-finals this time, I think the self-belief would be there that it's a possibility, but we'd probably be playing teams that are better than us. Massive improvements anyway. That's the big difference going back to 10 years ago. Style and mentality, I think. Tom Campbell says, good analysis. Thanks, mate. I just did a load more there, pal. Was so confident beforehand as well. Oh, well, see you guys tomorrow. Well, I went, Tom, just to touch on that, I went into that tournament very, very confident as well, because I went to a couple of the England qualifiers in the build-up. I went to the Andorra game when it was a tube strike, and it was an absolute nightmare to go there. And I treated a few staff members in my old job to tickets. Obviously, I weren't going to get them for the big game. Andorra was a bit cheaper, right? But, you know, nice night out and stuff. It was a nightmare getting there. And then I went back, obviously, without my staff. When we played Croatia, and Aaron Lennon was fantastic. Lampard and Gerrard both scored twice. We destroyed, it was the Croatia side without Modric, admittedly, destroyed them 5-1. And this was still at the early part of Capello. And I think everyone was like, wow, this can fire. And when you look back on it, you can absolutely see why. And then I think, like Danny said, in terms of the positivity towards it now, he's thinking about, okay, it might not work out next summer, but the likes of Rashford, Sancho, Sterling, suddenly you've got that pace into the team. Now, Ben Chilwell's not had a great season, but I think he's a really talented player. I think something's gone on behind the scenes there that's disturbed him. I think maybe he needs some competition in that position, both at Leicester and for England. Obviously, at right back, I mean, where do you start with the talents you've got there? Grealish, Maddison, good technical players. We know that Henderson, I mean, if you think back to that midfield three in 2018, was Henderson, Lingard and Ali. And now if I said to you, it might be Henderson, Maddison, Grealish, you're going, this is a major step up, let's be honest. Dele Alli is not best suited to that position because you want him closer to Kane. So it's not to mean that Ali shouldn't necessarily be in an England team if he's on top form. For me, he's way off it at the moment, but you want him close to Kane. Then are you restricting by having to play two of Rashford, Sancho and Sterling in a further wider position when you kind of want them close to Kane? I mean, particularly think that the night in Bulgaria, the return game, when there was all the racism trouble, I mean, Kane was dropping into Firmino areas and they were just bombing on past him, and he just was laying it on the plate for him. And that's the system England, I think, are going to be best going with, which is not going to be to the benefit of people like Dele Alli. Anyway, he says, oh, well, see you guys tomorrow. Yes, Tom is on with us 8 o'clock in the morning with a quiz, which there isn't going to be any prep for. 24 questions, I'm told. One question from each of the last 24 years to celebrate the fact it is a 24-hour stream. I don't know anything more than that. Thank you, Tom, for giving up your time to us. Final Rishi says, never having played Sky or any price fixed game before, how far forward are you planning the transfers? Leeds boys, for example, have a swing soon and need to be looked at. Yeah, Leeds I'm looking at around about 19 game week 20. Richie, I know you'll obviously be aware of that yourself as well. The truth is, I was planning further ahead than I am now. And the reason for that is like the goalposts in this just seem to move so quickly. I think it's more about awareness of where you want to get to and accepting that you may have to be looking at plans A, B, C, D. So I haven't 100% decided that I'm going to roll this week. I want to have a good look at what I'm going to do 17, 18. Now I've got past that free hit 15 stage. So I'm not looking too far ahead, but I'm aware of, you know, there's only 8 teams playing in game week 22 and that. And I'm probably, to put it into that perspective for you, mate, I'm probably only going to be buying from those 8 teams, perhaps with the exception of Spurs, if I decide to go in tomorrow between now and then. That's where I'm going to be targeting towards. So I don't have to worry about chips or any other bollocks like that when 22 comes round. The fixtures are tough anyway, so it's not worth stressing over. I love the Sky setup. I love the setup of this, of the no price changes. I think it suits my management style a lot better, which I didn't know this time last year. I'm a better Sky fantasy manager than I am an FPL manager. That is the honest truth. And I hope I can really show that next year. Elite FPL Steve-O, he's on with us at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. He says, afternoon, James, no questions. Just going to enjoy listening while doing chin-ups in the garden. You're a different kind of beast, Steve-O. We look forward to having you on and talking about Elite FPL tomorrow, mate. FPL Andy says, spot on, that's what football's all about. The moment that ball hits the back of the net, especially against them, like you're referring to me losing it on a simulation of a of a fantasy game based from 20 years ago. Yeah, love it. Paul Coleman's in, says hi all. Paul Coleman said, well said, who cares about FPL proper? A lot of people do, Paul. A lot of people do. And we're going to talk about missing football a little bit, particularly with Bradley when he comes on Saturday morning, 10:30, I think Bradley is. And Brad Lewinden's in chat, says, hi, mate. Not sure if it's been asked as I'm a bit late. Thoughts on Heskey this week? Yeah, don't mind. Did cover Liverpool off a little bit, Brad. You're only really looking, I think it's Hencho, Hegum, if you're brave, Heskey, Fowler. Yeah, I don't hate it. Like if I was making a free transfer, if I was stuck in a position where, I don't know, I had someone in at that value, yeah, absolutely. Or if it facilitates a move from, I don't know, you've got Hasselbank, for example. Hasselbank's a good example. If going Hasselbank to a Heskey facilitates adding a third Manchester United player for game week 17, for example, then I'm absolutely all for it. Andrew Martin's in, says, afternoon, James, going on my long walk this afternoon. He's also on stream tomorrow, 11:30, Andy. Paul Coleman, didn't use any chips this week in the CMFPL. Any ideas on best time? Free hit, thinking there must be a critical small double game week in the pipeline somewhere. Yes, there will. Probably be February at some point. All them English sides going out the UEFA Cup last night was not good news. I believe that yesterday was the best time to play the free hit. I also believe it was the best time to play the bench boost. And I also believe that for the majority of people, it hasn't worked out. I cannot give you an answer, Paul, with any clarity at all. Other than, obviously, currently we've got sort of Arsenal, Newcastle and Leeds. Is it the Leeds Derby or Leeds Blackburn fixture in game week 22? You could look towards something for that. But those games could be postponed if any of those teams are involved in FA Cup third round replay. So it's very short notice on the plan. You will know before game week 22. So in theory, you could wild card and then bench boost off the back of that, particularly if in the unlikely scenario, there's another game that for whatever reason would end up in that game week, then it's possibly then. I suspect we'll have another one in February that might look a little bit better, but I genuinely don't know. I think the free hit, bench boost, both of them were best deployed last night and the night before, even though for many it hasn't come off. There won't be better opportunities, in my opinion. I think free hit now, with the way this game is, it's not a bad place to be if you end up with a game week where it's terrible, but you're quite happy with your squad, for example. If you know that, I don't know, you end up in a position where suddenly 8 or 9 of your players are playing away from home, but you're quite happy with your squad, I think it's okay just to do that for a free hit and smash into 11 players with more suitable fixtures, for example. It's a shame, actually, that in that game week 22, you've got like Liverpool versus Arsenal, for example, because that's the sort of scenario where you think, I could throw both of them lot out for a week if you have that ownership, for example, and look at other teams. But obviously, there's only going to be those 4 fixtures. It'd be absolutely fine to do it in a single game week. It's just going to be everybody's personal circumstance in terms of what's best. I think bench boost is your best position now is going to be anything where you've got 4 teams doubling and Manchester United have a good fixture. Simple as that. Brad Lewandon also says, also looking forward to Planet FPL Live 4 2021 in Brighton. Brian Yule says, afternoon, is this the calm before the storm? Yeah, always, mate. And Brad Lewandon comes back and says, as a Spurs fan, is there any ties you always want in cup games? I always want away games against lower league clubs, miss following Brighton at places like Southend, Blackpool, Luton, etc. Depends on the weather. I'm not a fair weather football fan, but it does a little bit. So, like, first round of the League Cup, third round, and you know you're going to put out a bit of a Mickey Mouse thing. I want a home game against shit. Is generally what I want. Weather's normally not too bad. Think, yeah, go and get to see some of the fringe players, perhaps some developing younger players. Yeah, give me a home tie for that. FA Cup comes around and I'm like, yeah, give me crap away from home in January. I mean, it particularly changed for me with the Wembley experience as well. Like going to, in the third round, we had Wimbledon at home. Then we had the 4th round replay with Newport. And then we had the 5th round replay with Rochdale in the snow. And I mean, God knows how they managed to get that game on. But yeah, so I had to go to Wembley for like Wimbledon, Newport and Rochdale. Rochdale in freezing. It's the coldest I've ever been in a football stadium, ever. I used to have a ticket, row 2, premium level. So it's the middle tier at Wembley, where all the corporate normally sit. Obviously, when Spurs had it, you could buy tickets there, and it was a mix. And a brilliant seat, although too far from the pitch. Admittedly, still a couple of miles closer than what Suj sits at West Ham. But when we played Rochdale that night, I had to go from the second row of the middle tier to the back row of the middle tier to hide underneath where it overlapped from the top tier. Was the only way to get shelter from the snow. It was unbelievable, and it was freezing. And yeah, so now I'm less bothered about away games. Plus, there's the price of the tickets now as well. We had Middlesbrough and Norwich free plays this year and that at the new stadium, and you know Levy's going to take the piss with the ticket pricing and that. Always nice to play fresh names. The ones I never want to get Arsenal because I don't enjoy it. I looking forward to the fixture. But I don't look forward to I don't enjoy the game. I can look forward to it, but I don't enjoy the game as such. You're all right. Wife and little man's in again. The little man can break into the spare room now, which is a little bit dangerous at any given time. See you later, mate. Bye. I already took you out for a walk today. Stop complaining. That's her I'm talking about, not him. Stuart Bell says, all right, mate, do you think FPL would be more fun if you could only pick 2 players from any one team? I think it would make template teams less likely and therefore be a more fun game as a whole. Why don't we go to one player from teams? I think set up now is fine as it is. It's still a lot of people don't like trebling up, even like on Liverpool's and that. Don't like doing it. Just a lot of people like to spread their eggs. I don't mind hammering into something. It doesn't often work out for me, I'll be very honest. Brian Yule was watching Rangers versus Spurs from '89, Gazza's first appearance at Ibrox. Any memories of Guy Butters? I never saw Guy Butters play for Spurs, Brian, just ever so slightly before I started going. I tell you what, I can remember of a memory of him, though, just before. I think it was Gary Stevens, actually. John Fashanu had a terrible tackle on him. Like you'd get 6 red cards for it now. Brutal. No real memories of Guy Butters. Pretty average. I've got no recollection of that Spurs friendly at Rangers in '89 at all. I would, in fairness, have been 5. Andrew Martin says, the England team is arrogant. I see players like Rashford, Sancho and Grealish only getting better. Would you start Sterling currently for England? Yeah, I would. I'd start. I think he'd be first for me. I think best variation in terms of left, right or central. Probably best adaptable to a changing system if you needed to do it on pitch between 4-2-3-1 and 4-3-3. I'd probably leave Sancho the one I'd leave out at the moment. Now, I might be, admittedly, I might say I might be wrong in that because I've not seen a lot of him this year. He is a super, super talent. I just also think that he would be a better impact substitute than Raheem Sterling. And I think that's important. I think that's something we never think about in terms of, right, okay, is it necessarily just to start for who's going to start? We all think starting 11, but okay, if it's not going right, who's in a better position? Who can instantly come and impact that game for me? I think Sancho, because his technique is much better than Sterling, would get into games quicker and stuff. And obviously, he'd be so desperate to show what he can do. Whereas you might get with a Sterling, because he's a bit older and a bit more experienced and feels like I'm not saying he does, but probably feels like he absolutely is warranted his place in that team now. And you can't really argue with it. That he might not be in the right place if he was to come later in the game. Does that make sense? Probably not. So... And anyway, I think you can change in a squad tournament. You change them anyway. You change them, but with something we're going to talk about with Andy tomorrow at midnight as well. Is I think particularly about these 3. Talk about Wan-Bissaka and Trent a little bit as well, and a bit of Grealish, Maddison, and we're going to talk through some of that England stuff midnight tomorrow night as well. But I'd probably leave Sancho out of the 3 at the moment. Brad Luna says, love Guy Butters, still works at Brighton doing work in the community. Lovely guy. That's good to hear, mate. Most of the people in this chat won't have a clue who he is. Rory Scott says, hi, what Fulham player do you think is best for this double game week? I've been Bowmaway. OOP up front. I think from the value perspective, the one I'd probably be looking at is is Malbronk. I wouldn't go near him defensively. I mean, just conceding too many goals for me. So, no. I think, yeah, any of them cheapish midfielders, Barmore, it's in the midfield area where you'd want to target anyway. Heavy Finger 7 saying slightly late to join, not a problem at all. He says, I'm going to hate real FPL when we have game weeks only to the weekend, and then I will not understand the first international break. International breaks. Bloody hell, that's not something we've missed, is it? Paul Coleman, got any plans with little man this afternoon before Planet FPL 24? Yeah, seriously, I did take him out in the front yard, let him have a good run around for a good 45 minutes or so earlier, which he loves that. He's non-stop energy. In terms of plans, no, I need to get some bits for tomorrow. So I'll probably drive into work and drop some stuff off, actually, because otherwise I've got way too much to put in the back of an Uber tomorrow morning. And I think that's going to make the Uber driver nervous enough. He's nervous. They're nervous. I got in one for the first time on Monday since lockdown, and I didn't know what to expect. But obviously, sit in the back and all that is far away from the driver. And obviously, they've got these sheetings up or something. This guy did anyway. I don't know if everybody's doing that. It's like walking in on a crime scene, mate. That's like fucking hell. I mean, if you weren't in lockdown and you walked into that scene and that was the cab, you wouldn't get in that cab. You'd shit yourself. But we obviously live into different rules than that at the moment. So no, I mean, I appreciate what stuff people like that are doing as well for, you know, what's going to be a necessary journey to get equipment and stuff into work, plus beers and food and stuff like that as well. So yeah, I don't want to have to go, yeah, by the way, mate, I've got another 3 loads to come. So I do want to try and drop quite a bit off just late this afternoon if I can. Probably about 5:30, 6ish. And we'll have a quiet evening. I will try and have an early night. I probably won't. As long as I get 4 hours, I should be fine. I'm not someone who needs too much sleep. I'll suffer for it later, but in terms of going, I think I should be absolutely fine. Paul Tinkler says, hi, James. As someone else with a good few years in the betting industry, how did you manage to get all those busy Saturday afternoons off to watch your boys play? It's very simple with that, Paul. When I started the job, I said I'm a season ticket holder at Spurs and I don't miss home games. There were quite a few where I missed away games. I used to sometimes boozer across the road. So I used to work in Archway, which is a schooner area, really. But boozer across the road could get the dodgy football. So quite often, I like during the week, I'd not take lunch breaks, and whoever I was with, I'm like, sorry, I'm fucking off for 2 hours at 3 o'clock. I'd buy them lunch, whatever it took. I would get out to watch the game. Basically, there were a few times where I wasn't able to, like Spurs played away Grand National Day and stuff like that. I knew I was buggered. I remember even we played Blackburn away one year at lunchtime, and admittedly we were doing nothing in the league, so it didn't really matter. And the game was on the whole time, and I really didn't see any of it basically. And then later on, I took over the schedule for everybody to make sure it's legitimately true. Yeah, I used to do the schedule for it was up to 17 different sites, which became a nightmare, by the way. But the first schedule I could do was obviously my own. So it wasn't, and I never used to take the piss. Like if I took Saturday off, I'd work till late Friday and I'd be in first thing Sunday morning. That's how I was. But yeah, I could always make sure I had the time off. And you know me, I knew if I was doing the schedule in advance, Spurs could have a cup replay that night, or if we go through in Europe, or that game could get moved to a Sunday if they get, you know me, I knew all them things, and so it'd be me. And also, I'll tell you when it was really fun as well, and I used to love doing this, was when England played in a major tournament. So I'd do the schedule for like the whole tournament, knowing that no matter what England did en route to the final, there was no way I was going to work. So say England could have played Friday or Saturday. Say England could have played 3 o'clock on the Friday and 3 o'clock on the Saturday. Either one, say in the quarterfinals. I think this happened, I think in 2006, we played Portugal, didn't we? 3 o'clock on the Saturday. I think we could have played 3 o'clock Friday or 3 o'clock Saturday. So I did the schedule where I had like a mad schedule between and finished late Thursday. And you had this 11-hour rule, which I don't know if it still exists. But if you closed at 10 o'clock at night, you couldn't work the next morning. So obviously, with low numbers of staff, it became awkward. You couldn't have someone in Saturday morning who closed Friday night. So me, I'd go in at like 8:30 on the Saturday morning. So Friday off, I think I'll have to deal with the hangover if England played a Friday. I'd go in till like 12:30, just a proper Mickey Mouse shift. Take my England shirt with me and that, a bit of bar of soap out the back and off down the pub, mate. Yeah, I used to work it out that it was no way I was going to miss England in a major tournament. So yeah, I was quite lucky in that sense that I could look after myself. Plus, I wasn't a piss taker. I'd never someone who was late or went sick or anything like that. And I used to look after people back. I'd be like, next weekend, you can piss off for 3 hours if you want. I don't care. Heavy Finger 7. Spurs had a few Romanian players after the 90s impressions on them. Popescu, Dumitrescu, Chiriches. By the way, I apologise for Chiriches as a Romanian, but Vlad Chiriches was so funny. I spoke about Popescu and Dumitrescu really recently on one of these streams, actually. Dumi was a really good player, but couldn't go that way, and we had too many attacking players. And Popescu was bought as a sweeper, but ended up having to play as holding midfield because we didn't have players who could go that way. Both decent footballers, and were obviously very good as part of that Romanian 1994 side. Chiriches was fucking abysmal. My favourite memory of Vlad was we played a game in Turkey against Besiktas before Besiktas moved into their new stadium where Liverpool and Chelsea played the Super Cup final. I think it might have even in the Ataturk, maybe. I can't remember. Massive stadium, was like half empty. It was about 10,000 in the ground or something. Anyway, it felt that way because there was so many empty seats. And we was already through, but we was playing with Besiktas for first place in the UEFA Cup group. It didn't particularly matter. Anyway, the pitch is such a state. It's really bad. It was like a throwback, proper. I wouldn't say like bobbly. I mean muddy. Like you could see it was going to cut up all over the place. First thing, ball goes over the top. Vlad tries to go one way. He steps back inside, back towards his goal, and then tries to do a Cruyff turn inside his box in the first minute on this pitch. And he got robbed. I remember him trying something similar. I was up at Sunderland one year, and we were winning, and we ended up drawing 2-2. And he tried something similarly comical as well, and just about got away with it. He could play, but he was one that really struggled to adjust with how much quicker our league was, in my opinion. He never had as much time on the ball as he thought he did. He could pick a pass on that, technically good, but yeah, he used to give me kittens, man. He wasn't the sort of guy I wanted to see in my team when we were playing, like, Walcotts and Van Persies and stuff like that. I didn't need any of that rubbish. Danny McDonald says, quite tempted by a treble Liverpool defence next week, whenever that is, next season, sorry, whenever that is. What are your reflections on the strategy when you used it this season? Yeah, do it again. No probs. Trent needs to be some serious price next year for me not to buy him. 24 assists since the start of last season. Hello. I mean, for 7 million, you're mad. If that's a midfielder, you go mental for it. You'd go absolutely mental for it. And the clean sheets are the bonus. And they're the best team in the country. It's insane. Your man needs to be at least 9 million next year. Seriously. Anything less, and he'd be first player in the team. First player in the team. No, wouldn't think twice about it. And I think Robbo under 8, I'd probably get again. So reliable. No issues. Yeah, I was intent on sticking to my guns with it, Danny. Some weeks it worked, some weeks it didn't. It felt like I was unlucky for a really long time. And then when they started coming, I was actually a bit lucky. Just shows how football works sometimes. Fucking hell, someone just put the sun away. Carl Norbury says, hi all, sorry for the promo, but please check out my football quiz app, Teammates. Kyle, you got to give me some feedback on my own quiz first. But yeah, Carl's a fan of the show. Check out his app. Paul Coleman, good luck with tomorrow, mate. We'll be there as much as possible. Appreciate that, Paul. Andrew Martin says, what are your memories of my zombie captain, Viduka? Fat. No, very good player, actually. Very good player. He had that great ability, Viduka, where he a little bit like Gascoigne, but Viduka was very different in terms of back to goal. That great arm off. He always had defenders at arm's length. This is no good for the audio, but for the YouTube viewers, it's good. He could always sink back in, and he was always comfortable holding people off, I felt. He was always in control, really good first touch, good finisher, good in the air. Wasn't the quickest, but I don't think it overly mattered. He had good reactions, as seen obviously for a few of those goals he scored in that game against Liverpool. He had the skill. Think of that winning goal at Highbury in late 2000, the late of the 02-03 season. Very good player. Very good player. I don't think he was one who was necessarily up with the health regime and whatnot. So I think he liked what he ate and he liked what he drank and he probably liked what else he did as well. But yeah, good player, Viduka. It was a very good Leeds team, as you know, Andy, it should say. Paul Carman, question for tomorrow at Let's Talk FPL, Andy, on how he's found going full-time FPL and how you see Patreon going to allow you to go full-time FPL. So good question, Paul. As I said at the top of the show, for those who joined in late, like, thank you very much for the response to Patreon. A little bit overwhelming. There's not really been any negative comments, bar one, and I expected tens of them, to be honest. I think it's probably because how open and honest we've been about it, how we've always tried to be. Those who've been on the streams will have known we haven't spoken about it so much on the podcast, but I personally have said it so many times, and it's not a joke when we say if this works from the Patreon perspective, yes, I'm going to go full time on it. I know obviously Andy's doing his thing as well, and yeah, it's something we can talk about. I don't know if it's something that we want to talk about drunk at midnight, but we're certainly going to invite some questions in for really early tomorrow morning. So if anybody's got some questions about how the Patreon will work or anything, I mean, my opinion always is, and obviously for the fundraiser tomorrow as well, is like if you can't afford to add to the community, as Suj would call it, in terms of supporting our Patreon, because we want to be better at the content we're providing, both visually in terms of the sort of graphic stuff we've been doing with Chris and other stuff, and also improve like the audio sound, the quality of what we're doing. Suj has a great expression that's always time is money, right? And the money is what's going to give me time to be in a position. And we know we're really good at just walking into a room and sitting down and record. But what if we can be better? Like some of these Thursday throwbacks, like the quizzes that I've been doing, like some of the more recent people's polls. There has actually been thought process and planning gone into them. When football was on, we were basically sitting in a room, going record, bang, editing it, posting it. And I know people like that raw side of it. And trust me, if we're going to 10 podcasts a week, there's still going to be plenty of that. But we want to improve, right? Suj is someone who can't sit still. He has to improve. If Suj doesn't feel he can improve anymore, he'll stop doing it. I need to keep him motivated. I hope he's not in this chat anymore. But as long as Suj is motivated and he's enjoying it, he'll carry on doing it. But Suj is driven. He wants to. It's not about the money for him, because the money really is for me to have the time. That's what the money of the Patreon is for. It's not about anything to him. The money for him is in other businesses and stuff. This is something that he loves. And when he says that, it's not cheap words. He loves doing this. I obviously love doing it. It's a huge part of my life now. And so if you guys can put me in a position where I can do it full time, then I'm going to be selfish about it. And I'm going to say, thank you very much. And I'm going to work my ass off for you. That's how it is. The negative comment that we had, which is okay, because it was constructive feedback, and it's someone that still listens to us, was that basically we were providing too much content. Which is okay, right? And some people may feel like that, but then you don't have to listen to all 10 pieces of content. I said that on one of the Chat Man streams either last night or the night before. Like, we've got 5 bits of content coming out free. If there's people in there who are not playing Sky, they're probably not going to listen to the Sky podcast, right? I get that. I don't expect people to listen to all 10. What I'm doing is putting it there for you, and you can make that choice yourself. So, yeah, all the main podcasts now are staying free, and we're going to give some extra to people that want to support us and do 5 extra, and that's it. And there's going to be prizes in mini leagues, etc. I'm happy for those who pay at the top tier. I'm going to give up my own time to have one-on-one calls with these people at least once a year, and that so I can get to meet these people, because the best thing we've had from the live shows is meeting people, to know that, like, when Andy Martin started Champ Man FPL with his mates, and I saw that Andy was involved in it, it was one of the things that made me know that it was going to work, because I'd met Andy and I'd sat with Andy in a bar in London till late and had a beer with him and knew that it would be good. That wanted me to get in straight away, because that's the best thing for us in the community, is getting to know all you people and meeting. It's not cheap talk. The live shows are brilliant. it can be taxing putting it together, but once we do it, and then afterwards, it's brilliant. Actually being able to sit down, talk to people, have a beer, get to know people, and we want to get back in that place to get again. That's where we want to be, and I hope that day is coming soon. Yeah, I'll ask Andy when I see him. But yeah, thank you very much for that, Paul. Cole Norbury says, quiz question, James. Which ex-Spurs player was club teammates with Kieran Dyer, Damien Duff, Lee Carsley, and Lee Bowyer? Which ex-Spurs player was club teammates with Kieran Dyer, Damien Duff, Lee Carsley, and Lee Bowyer? That's a cracking question. Cracking question. It's not obvious there with the clubs. Dyer and Duff would have played together for Newcastle. I suppose Lee Bowyer as well, which leaves Lee Carsley as the odd man out. Is there some sort of Everton Newcastle link there or something? Derby, Newcastle, Everton Newcastle. Good one. Good one. Is it he who can't be named, Kyle? Out of chance, is it? It's not him, is it? I don't know the answer. Feel free to throw it into the chat if someone does soon, which I am going to start wrapping this up because I've been going for an hour or so now. Conan will say, I've not done the numbers quiz yet, but got 90, 26 and the A to Z one. Good one. Yeah. I mean, the quiz this week, really good feedback on that. Thank you again. So it flips you on its head. Every answer is between 1 and 26, obviously not replicated, and the questions are A to Z. It's tough. I'm not going to lie, but if you've got an hour that you want to kill, Cole Norbury said it's not he who shall not be named. That's good. Yeah, it's really good fun. I think you'll enjoy that. Tom's going to do a great quiz tomorrow morning. I absolutely know that. No doubt about it at all. Yeah, the quizzes are good, and they stay there. You can go back to them anytime you like. I would consider, if you've got mates, like get yourself a house party for 4 or 5 hours or something and do 3 or 4 of them together. Go back and do some of them together. There's got to be about 8 of them now, which you can go back to. There you go. There's an idea for your bank holiday weekend. Heavy Finger 7, can we justify Aurea in any way? Would you give him more chances in the squad or sell him? I think the laughable thing about Serge Aurier, mate, is he's actually been one of Spurs' best players this season. And I'd mark him at about 6 out of 10. But he's been there, he's been consistent, he turns up every week. He's erratic, but actually he's been a little bit better under Mourinho. He's probably one of the players who has had a benefit from Mourinho. But yes, Spurs need better fullbacks. That's a huge priority. I don't think he's someone who wants to be a backup, so Spurs are probably better off getting one new in and another younger one, and then getting some return on their investment by selling Aurea. Brian Newell, as you move further away from just FPL, is a name change under consideration? No, that's never really come up, Brian. Because, I mean, let's be honest, right now the content isn't really FPL, is it? But then the thing that's getting the most views at the moment is the chat man FPL. You know, so it's still FPL. We still mention it fleetingly. When football restarts, the main podcast is going to be 95% about FPL. Obviously, we kind of on a Wednesday play on it by saying Planet Sky FF for the Sky game. Clash of the Correspondents, yeah, it's a fan open thing, but it's all relative to your FPL decision making. People's Poll, yeah, something very different. And I think these streams on a Friday when football returns were becoming almost exclusively FPL content in terms of people asking me FPL questions. So I think that will come back. So no, there's not any real thinking to go away from that. Plus, a lot of the content will actually be on the Patreon side. Again, it's quite split. It's going to be a half and half of FPL. I don't know if changing the brand would be any good. I mean, we started off FPL. I think it will continue off FPL. If I said to you, we're not going to do an FPL podcast again, I think that's the sort of thing that would, if I'd have said on Patreon, then yeah, by the way, we're not doing FPL podcasts anymore. I think that's the sort of thing that, oh, hang on, why have I invested in you for the last 2 or 3 years or however long you've been listening to us? That would make you think, oh, I've been lied to just to get to a more of a kind of a mainstream football thing. No, if you only want to listen to the FPL content, we know we've got tons of listeners who only listen to the main podcast on a Monday night. It's absolutely fine. I know that I've got a ton of people who follow me on Twitter who've never listened to a podcast and look out for what my team's going to be, even though I'm a shit FPL player. So everybody's got different wants and requirements and needs. I think what we're trying to do is just give people the best choice. That's all. Stuart Bell says, is there an away day where you were expecting a dump or a poor atmosphere, for example, but you left thinking, wow, that was a great ground? I was really expecting a question like this, Stuart, because I've done it a few times about the fact you couldn't shit in the San Siro. And obviously I've seen news today that the San Siro is almost definitely, as it is now, going to get knocked down and rebuilt, basically. And it's an iconic place that if you have the chance, you really should go and see. An amazing stadium. But facility-wise, forget about it. It's all about... I'd say it's the most impressive stadium probably outside, because it's not got anything around it in terms of other buildings at the moment or anything. I presume it won't be until they rebuild the new one. So when you kind of come around the corner on the main road, when you're coming sort of away from the city centre, and you turn the corner and it's like, wow. And it does look like a spaceship with the way it comes out in the corners. It looks like someone's about to lift it off the ground. Incredibly impressive. And then when you go in, you got the spiral staircase and you're like, fucking hell, it must be this time. Nope, you keep going round and round and round. It keeps going, but facility-wise, so poor. Yeah, I wasn't going to go to a dump that night in the San Siro. I was there when Bale scored the hat-trick. But had I wanted to, I'd have been in trouble. I wouldn't have gone. I would have rather shat my pants than shat in whatever that was on the floor where people had been pissing and stuff. Fuck that. So, yeah. I get that wasn't really the question, though, was it? The question was, is there anywhere I've been where afterwards I was like, wow, that was a great ground? That's a really, really good question. I'll tell you what, me and Badger and Mark are going to be talking about away grounds tomorrow night at 9:30. So I'll come back to that. But off the top of my head, no. No, I don't think there's anywhere I've gone where I thought this is going to be shit. Wow, that was amazing. I think there's a few places I've been where I might have thought, oh, that was better than I was expecting. And there's a few places I've been where I've been like, what is this town? What have you put me? It's like the fucking wild, wild west up here. Some of them places in the Pennines, they're like wild, wild west towns, mate. But no, I wouldn't say there's anywhere I've been that impressed me more than what I was expecting. Like if you take like Dortmund, I was so hyped when I went to Dortmund, and it lived up to my expectation. I wouldn't say it was more or less. The one I've said a few times, Barcelona was just such a letdown. Again, on like facilities and stuff, and also the way it was stewarded, policed, the way you have to deal with a petition board. I've been over this before, so I'm not going to do it again. But yeah, Barcelona was a huge letdown, whereas Madrid I thought was fantastic. The new Calderon was great. What's it called now? Wanda Metropolitano, isn't it? That's great. Yeah, I can't think of anywhere where I thought was going to be shit, and I've got there and I've been like, that's good. Sometimes you go to really, really Mickey Mouse grounds and you do that thing and you go, it's all right here, isn't it? Yeah, it's not too bad for a pokey little club, actually. I was at Colchester in September. It's all right. 11,000, whatever it holds. Cute little place. It's okay. I don't know what to say about it, but that's it. FPL Andy was saying to that earlier true question, was it Stephen Carr? Danny McDonald says, yeah, I think it's Carr. Paul, oh, he would have played with Lee Carsley at Birmingham. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Paul Coleman, see you tomorrow, mate. Thanks for the stream. No probs. Cole Norbury says, yes, it was Stephen Carr, that trivia question earlier. Frodo says, greetings. Oh, hello, Frodo. Cole Norbury, the apps on the App Store, it's completely different to what's out there, in my opinion. All right, cool. Good luck, Carl. Jack Wilson, who is the shortest international career for England? He plays right back. It's going to be someone who's played like a 1 minute appearance or something. Someone useless. Someone properly useless who none of us can even remember. I don't know the answer, chat, but thank you for your question. Final, Richie, good luck for tomorrow, mate. We'll jump in and off it. Can you have an hour for the kids? No. Yeah, I think we'll try and be quite nice early in the day in terms of language and stuff. But one of the guys, I can't remember who it was now, who's coming on, messaged me and said, like, do we have to have a filter? And I was like, are you joking? Have we got a fucking filter? So I'm opening the can at 2:30. So like beyond that, it's anything goes as far as I'm concerned. Josh Riddle, Kenny Road. I don't know what that means. Richard Roman, do you think there should be salary caps in the Premier League? Don't you think it's out of hand? Yeah, it's out of hand, but Jack Wilson has just said that the answer is Martin Kelly. Scored the winner at Spurs in the FA Cup. Yeah, 5th round for Palace in 2016. True. But yeah, he was rubbish. We'll end on that from Richard. Yeah, should there be a salary cap? Yes, probably. But how you bring it in, at Premier League level now, I think nearly impossible. Nearly impossible to bring that in now. Where do you start? What point do you go? That's where it needs to. Do you top it at like 300 grand a week? I mean, there's only a couple of clubs playing that sort of salary now, so it doesn't mean at Crystal Palace you say, right, you can't play on more than 300 grand a week. I ain't going to get a toss. And then what do you do if you cut it at, say, what? You want to drag people down to 50 grand a week, which obviously we know to everybody is a ridiculous amount of money, but you can't, for whatever you think of Alexis Sanchez, he got offered a contract and he signed it. You can't tell him that suddenly he's got to take a 90% wage cut. Life doesn't work like that. So it would need absolutely staggering in. I think the only way you could make that work, Richard, is you would probably have to say by 2026, genuinely, this is what it's going to be. And then for those on the ridiculous salaries who've then got to adjust their lives, they know that in 6 years' time, that's the sort of money they're going to be on, and they can either rob people or not rob people in the meantime. And then you know the way it's going. Then you'd have to set that out so far in advance to get it in the right place. And then what? Isn't it a little bit what they've tried to do with FFP, which I think we're finding out is not really going to work? By reflecting it to, you can only spend what you've got in terms of relation to your turnover. So even if you went, right, it's maximum 10 grand a week on salaries. Well, so what? I mean, what are Barnet going to do about it? So you'd have to implement that at so many different levels. Do you have salary caps at all the different leagues going down? Such a tough thing to start, Richard. I think when the Premier League started nearly 30 years ago, if that sort of thing had got put in place then at a higher ceiling than what it was for anybody then, you could have got there. To cap it now, you've probably got to start £1 million a week, because the £1 million a week footballer is coming. We know that Messi, Ronaldo and the likes, through endorsements, etc., are earning this money now anyway. So it's coming. The day is coming where Newcastle United are going to play Kylian Mbappe £2 million a week. It's coming. Thank you very much for joining, guys. God, I went on a lot longer than I planned to, but thank you very much. Some really good questions in there, guys. Do offer what you can in support of our work for NHS charities tomorrow, 6 a.m. to 6 a.m. It will be broken into, it's 24 hours continuous, but it will be in 4 different streams. So part 1 will be 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. Then 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. 6 p.m. to midnight to 6 a.m. We will literally be on and off for like 2 minutes, just resetting. And the reason for that is basically if a YouTube video goes longer than 8 hours, YouTube doesn't keep a record on it. So if anybody wanted to come back and watch it the next day, they wouldn't be able to. It wouldn't exist. That's my understanding. So that's why we're capping it at a maximum of 6 hours and then coming back to it. Raise what you can. We've got a target of £5,000. We are, through the help of many already, thank you, up to about 10% of that total. We're going to go for it and we're going to push hard for it. Obviously, you can support the Patreon as well. If you haven't listened to the People's Poll podcast on Tuesday, highly recommend that so you know what we're doing. The links are all available through shit, I feel uncomfortable tweeting about it. I've said enough anyway, but I'm not uncomfortable tweeting about tomorrow. Come and support us. We'd really appreciate it. Come in the chat, say hello. We'll get you a shout out as and when we can. If you can donate, please only donate what you can afford to. It's going to NHS charities together. The link to that, if you wish to donate now, is available in my pin tweet, and it will stay as my pin tweet until that stream goes live tomorrow morning, and in which case it will probably be in a link below the link to the stream. Thank you very much, guys. Have a very safe weekend. I hope to see many of you tomorrow. Be nice to each other. Ciao for now, and for the benefit of the audio listeners, cue music please, Mancha.